America's national debt just crossed $37 trillion. A number that's not just hard to imagine, but one that directly shapes your mortgage rate, your job prospects, and even the price of your groceries. So why does it matter, and is it as scary as it sounds? Think of America's debt like a massive credit card. Every year the government spends more than it earns in taxes, it borrows to cover the rest. Each year's deficit adds to the credit card balance, which is now more than America's entire annual economic output. But unlike your personal credit card, America's minimum payment is only the interest. In 2025, we'll pay nearly $1 trillion in interest, more than the US spends on Medicare and creeping up toward what the Pentagon spends on defense. Those interest payments, that's taxpayers' money that could have gone to highways, schools, or medical research. Interest rates, like those on the 30-year mortgages, are tied directly to US government bonds. When investors worry about rising debt, they demand higher rewards to lend America money, which means mortgage rates rise. That's exactly what happened after a recent credit rating downgrade. Mortgage rates jumped back above 7%, even while the Fed was trying to lower them. Big companies, think like Apple, Walmart, and your local hospital, also pay more to borrow, which means higher prices or slower hiring. The government cuts spending to manage debt. You can see fewer repairs on roads, less funding for schools, and delayed social security payments. Foreign governments own more than $7 trillion of America's debt, meaning big decisions in Beijing or Tokyo can ripple through your neighborhood. If those investors dump treasuries, it could mean a weaker dollar and higher import prices at the store. So why hasn't America collapsed even as debt soared from $10 trillion to $37 trillion? Main reason is dollar is king. Because the US dollar is the world's reserve currency, foreign governments and big investors want our treasuries. That makes it easier for America to borrow and cheaper too. As long as people keep using dollars for trade, oil, and global business, the system limps along. There's also the strong demand. Investors still see US bonds as the safest asset around, even after a downgrade. The world wants in, which keeps borrowing costs lower than they could be. But here's the flip side. If debt grows faster than the economy, investors get nervous. Interest rates and inflation rise, hurting investments, homebuyers, and anyone paying off a loan. Now, at some point, if the dollar weakens and foreigners bail, America could have to pay much higher interest rates just to keep borrowing. And you're probably thinking, has this ever happened before? Well, Greece and Argentina borrowed too much and spooked investors. They ended up with desperate spending cuts, mass layoffs, and soaring inflation. The US is nowhere near that cliff, but the playbook does exist. So the real question is, how can America fix this? Well, you could collect more taxes, which is pretty much a pretty hard sell politically. You cut spending on big programs like Medicare, Social Security, or defense, which we've recently seen with Medicare. Or you could grow the economy so debt looks smaller compared to GDP, which personally I think the president's trying to do. But every choice has trade-offs, either higher taxes, fewer government services, or possibly lost jobs. So does this shit actually matter to you? Yeah, it does. America's debt isn't just a boring number. It's a balancing act affecting your interest rates, your paycheck, and your government services. For now, the world still trusts the dollar. But what happens next will steer the cost of living, jobs, markets, and America's leadership for years to come. And you might be wondering, well, how do I trade this? And that's when you join Stock Sharks today for $99 a month, and we will do the research for you. Take care. See you guys in the next reel.